The Heat closed it out last night, beating the 76ers 42. Thoughts on that series, the whole series, and the game last night, Mike?
I predicted Heat in 7, and then before the game last night, I said, why the hell did I predict Heat in 7? Did I forget about James Harden in Game 6s? How dare I predict Heat in 7? So Jimmy Butler, first off, I want to be positive to start with. Jimmy Butler was excellent. Probably had a little axe to grind against his former team, the Philadelphia 76ers. I believe he averaged about 27, 7, and 5 in the series. His usual bulldog defense. Great, sometimes erratic leadership. Lowry is a little banged up, but at the end of the day, I want to give credit to the Heat. Sixers, man, listen, Joel was banged up. He had his knee, I don't think is still right. He had the facial fracture. He had the finger. He had a lot of issues, but he went out with the thumb. Yeah, and the thumb is the worst finger to injure. So he went out like a G. He, except when he was whining to the referees when he got hit in the face with a ball for about 5 minutes. Shut up, Joel. All right? Shut up. You're acting like Luka out there. But I understand. It's difficult to deal with both Glenn Rivers and James Harden and DeAndre Jordan. I get it. I understand. Joel is awesome. He is well-deserving, as you said, of the MVP this year. Even though I didn't pick him. But end of the day, he deserved to win this series. I'm disappointed in James Harden and the way he ended this series, but I'm going to give you the floor to get your take because I know you predicted the 76ers in 7 or 6. You were mistaken, but that is okay.
Yes, I was mistaken. I didn't know that my boy Embiid was gonna be hurt for 2 games, but I was like, listen, when he's back, we can at least pull 2 back, which we ended up doing. I said, if the Sixers get Game 5, it's 6 and 6 or 7. But I was wrong. But again, you and I were both wrong because me personally, I as a Sixers fan, a part of me wanted them to not do really well. But again, I thought, it would hurt Joel Embiid's, like hard work and everything. But then I wanted it to be a point where like they would understand that James Harden is not worthy of a max deal right now. Joel Embiid made some comments yesterday talking about how, James Harden is not the Houston Rockets player that he is. He's just not, that's what everybody expects of him, and that's not who he is. But the whole team, including himself, needs to, tighten up and be more aggressive. And people started calling him out saying that, hey, Joel, it was Ben Simmons and now James Harden. You might be the problem. Listen, if you're a real basketball fan, the game, it was not Joel Embiid, all right? The man is always going to be honest because he trusted the process and put in the work. Other people can follow the same lead and do the same thing, okay? And on top of it, he's West African. Brutal, honest people, okay? Michael will tell you that. But anyway, my point is James Harden is not worthy of a max deal. And he proved it last night, okay? He shot 4 for 9 for 11, and got 11 points total. I'm not talking about second half or first half or whatever. Second half, just so you know, he shot the ball twice. Didn't make either of them, 0 for 2 in the second half. You shot the ball twice. I don't see the difference between you and Ben Simmons. The last game Ben Simmons played, I believe he was 0 for 3 with 3 points. He at least got to the foul line. But here's my concern. Tyrese Maxey had 20 points shooting under 50, right under 50%. He was 9 for 22, okay? And he had 20 points. My problem is Tyrese Maxey, second-year player, is shooting the ball 22 times. James Harden is shooting the ball 9 times in an elimination game.
The man played.
You're not a max player at that point. You know what I mean? And then what is Doc Rivers doing? Is he telling him to not be aggressive? Glenn Rivers, I'm sorry. But my point is that I want him gone. I want both of them shipped out of, the Sixers. And, people might think I'm crazy, but this man blew the most 3-1 leads ever,
At least he didn't blow a 3-0 lead.
I understand it is hard to come from behind of a 2-0 lead, but the Dallas Mavericks are handling it well right now. The Bucks are handling it well right now. So Sixers are a team, worthy of, coming back from something like that. I get it. Joel is banged up, but then the supporting cast, we gave up too much for James Harden. We gave up way too much. Now our bench is hurting. Who's this backup center? Paul Reed? The guy's
DeAndre Jordan.
Please stop it. Paul Reed, I would say DeAndre Jordan is on the bench, I think, too, doing something.
He'd be on the bench in the G League at this point. No offense, DeAndre. You had your time.
He did have his moments, but that's the problem with Doc. It's like, is this based off old relationships or what's going on?
He's always done that.
Same was Daryl Morey, like talking about, Doc is definitely coming back, and I hope James Harden too. Doc, James Harden, Daryl Morey, all three of you sound like you all need to go. You understand what I'm saying, Mike? Give me a moment, please. Daryl Morey, okay, first of all, you gave Tobias Harris a max deal over Jimmy Butler. I have Jimmy Butler's jersey. I'm talking about the moment we traded for him the next week, my ex bought me a jersey. You know why? Because I'm like, Jimmy's here. We're staying. He's staying. We got to do whatever it takes. We're going to games and everything. But guess what happened? We couldn't make him happy because guys like Ben Simmons, wanted to come first over a guy like Jimmy Butler. You make Jimmy Butler the second guy on the team. You get what I'm saying? But listen, because we didn't get that hand, we gave the money to Embiid, of course, who deserves it, Simmons, and Tobias Harris. I don't blame Tobias Harris too much in here. And this is why, because the man played well enough to earn himself that money. The trip that we went to the final against, Toronto Raptors, the Sixers played good, and Tobias Harris, like I said, played well enough to earn himself that deal, right? So because we gave him that money, we can't give, it could only go to three people. If you choose Simmons, sure, I get it at that point, but then you let Jimmy walk. So then Jimmy goes to Miami Heat and then beats you, as he should. So yeah, again, don't make that mistake again talking about, we won Harden, hopefully Harden. Like, don't talk like we're losing him. We should lose him. You get what I'm saying? We should lose James Harden at this point. I'm tired of it, And here's the thing, James Harden, we would like to have you back under certain circumstances. You need to understand that you're gonna be the third option. At best, at worst, you're like, you know what I mean? Like we're actually gonna find pieces around Joel Embiid. Like Maxi's an up and coming player. We need to give him the confidence still. But James Harden needs to take a deal like 5 years, $100 million. All right, brother. Let me tell you, you're making a lot of money with Adidas and a whole lot of other things. All right, you're rolling with the rappers. We know you got it. Take 5 years, $100 million, and mentor these young guys. Okay, you're not a max player.
On how to ruin relationships?
No, he's still a good playmaker. He's just not the guy that we know him to be. So I want him to look in the mirror and accept that. You're not a good defender. Go lose some weight. Try to be agile a little bit, like find some stretching, something. I don't know. He needs something. Okay. I don't think James Harden is a bad player, but like I said, he's declined a lot. Okay. And let's just understand, okay, this is where he is, and let's take it from here. We're still trying to be like when he was in Brooklyn. If Harden gets it together and Kyrie no, stop it. When is he going to get it together? He can't. It's okay. It's not 2018 Houston Rockets. That time has passed. We can let it go, fellas. It's okay. James Harden is not that same guy. Take $100 million for 5 years. NBA contract is guaranteed. When you met and you want to go, brother. Who can let that 20 million, be a dead space, whatever. But at this point, like I said, we knew this was coming at some point. And then they made it bad because, it's at a point where it's like now we're at a position where Daryl Morey again is going to do some fanboy stuff and bring James Harden back on some ridiculous large amount, and we're going to miss out on the max player. we need to get a max player. We could have went in hard for Damian Lillard. We could have went in for CJ McCollum, like Zach LaVine. You need guys that can go create and make things happen. If you're going to get a playmaker, get one that can play very, very, very well with, Joel Embiid. He passes the ball to Embiid and he's still standing there. He doesn't move without the ball. It's hard, So I don't think that was a great pickup, but like I said, we hope it does something. But again, I didn't want it to do something too much that they give him a max deal. So yes, please. He's in his 30s. I don't think he's the guy. Doc Rivers, Glenn, please. I need you to understand that, we need bench players, Danny Green, sorry about that injury, ACL, LCL. Whew. I wish the brother well, man, but we need
You had like
more.
5 Red Bulls and 3 Monsters before this, man. You just went off right there. I'm very impressed.
I had to. It's personal.
I get it. I'm going to summarize James Harden for you and make you feel better.
Go ahead, brother.
Misery loves company. I'm grumpy myself. All right. So now, James Harden, I believe he's going to go down as an all-time great scorer. Led the league in scoring 3 straight years, right? Won an MVP. Was runner-up a few times and had an argument some of those years as well. All right? So he is a top 75 player, in my opinion, somewhere around there, Now, also a phenomenal passer. He did not take care of his body as well as he should have, in my opinion. He showed up out of shape, and then he ends up with injuries in the playoffs. Well, that's you didn't put yourself in the best position to not get injured in the playoffs. He always manipulated the rules to the point where they had to change the rules to stop the manipulation, so that he kind of got old, his body started breaking down, and the rules changed all at once. And it hit him like a ton of bricks, bro. And so that's how I sum up James Harden there. But then he was never just a great shooter. He was a good shooter, very good shooter. But the bottom line is he was a volume scorer. He was never super efficient. And the bottom line is he's never closed out series. He had some great games early on. He doesn't have bad playoff numbers, but how many times now for the last 10 years has he done this? And I'm going to ask you right now on the spot. How do you shoot the ball 2 times in 23 minutes? All right. Was he trying to get Rivers fired? Did the Monstars steal his powers? Was he freaking paid off? How in the world can you shoot the ball 2 times? 2? Now, what do you think? Because he got asked about the coaching and he goes, next question. That's what he said, bro. And think about this. Dwight Howard, no one really seemed to get along with Dwight Howard. We got to talk about that another time. But then Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Kyrie and KD, now Philly. You just see the body language. Like he keeps beefing with all of these guys. What's the common denominator? Mr. Harden.
Again, like I talked about, he needs to realize that he's not that same guy. And that will be how he can move past this and be a better player for the team. But if he doesn't realize that, then it's not going to work. And Glenn needs to understand that he needs to get some pieces around. You know what I mean? Like I said, reconstruct Tobias Harris's deal, figure something out.
Moore's a smart guy. He's a smart guy that's made mistakes. But you can't be in love with James Harden. You got to understand his limitations. And Morey sometimes goes a little too far into the spreadsheets. He is a very smart guy, but I think sometimes if you got the eye test over here and the analytics over here, you gotta blend them together. And he's staying a little too far over here and looking at the stat sheet a little too much, in my opinion. And that's always going to hurt Morey. And by the way, why are you bringing in DeAndre Jordan then? Oh, then are you just basically doing whatever Glenn Rivers wants? Because that's what the Clippers did for a while. Yeah. They were letting him do both. And how'd that work out? So you can't be bringing in guys 5 years past their prime to round out your bench, man. You need your bench players in the playoffs.
Listen, the reason why the Celtics, Suns, Bucks are a great team right now is because they have a phenomenal bench. You
Yeah.
can't even tell when they're rotating their guys because
No.
the intensity always stays the same. You can always tell when these guys, it's like, who's that guy? You know? And it's like, Glenn, why is, Tobias Harris out, Embiid out, Maxey out, Harden out, and we're down 6 or 8 or whatever. What are you trying to do? Get the score to go to 10 and then bring him back in? It makes no sense,
Hockey, he's got these hockey rotations.
Sometimes his rotations are terrible, and I'm like, am I the only one? I know I'm not the only one watching, And it's like, stop pointing hands only on James Harden. I need him to do a better job too, coaching wise.
Right.
Sitting there talking about, when you gave up 3 or 4 for 1, you knew you were gonna hurt the bench. It's like, are you throwing shots at the GM after talking about, Harden is a playmaker, Harden is this, Harden is that? It's like, something was off too at that interview with, Daryl Morey and Rivers, because Rivers, like I said, sat down and was like, if you trade 3 for 1 or 1 for 4, you lose a couple of pieces on the bench. You're right. So if you know that, make sure you bring in a guy that's gonna, make a phenomenal, change to the scene, benefit Joel Embiid, everybody around him, But we're not gonna spend all day and all, we could spend all day if we're really going in, but we're not gonna do that because we got other topics, other games going
Praise
on.
to Joel's season. Great season.
Absolutely.
Went out like a warrior.
Went out like a warrior, broken socket, thumb, all of that, and still came out game 3 and 4.
It's never one person's
and
fault.
5. It's
Right.
never,
Never
he
one
did what
person's
he
fault,
can.
but the
But
combination.
again, I tell you what, he can also be better. He can
Yep.
also be a little bit agile and guard these players better. There's times where when he's guarding the guards, he's like, wow, like this man can move. But then there's times it's like, okay, I think he's tired, So maybe his conditioning can get better. With Joel, brother, listen, we got this. Don't worry about the MVP. It'll come get you a championship and then get to a point where, they'll bring pieces around you because everybody wants to play with you.
Yeah.
And then at that point, the MVP will come easy, okay? Jokic has a nice team, He doesn't have, the best team, but he has a very nice team, great role players around him. That's what the Sixers need. And it's going to elevate his game even more. It makes him look like the MVP all the time because sometimes we're that bad. But, great pieces around, we're going to get better.